Yeah, for me, I will. All right, so I remind myself.
All right. This is the work session of the River Edge Mayor and Council for Tuesday, February 18th, 2014. Time is approximately 7 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices in December to the Record and the Ridgewood News by positioning notice on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall and filing a notice with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind the public that we have 3 exits in council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. We are on the record both video and audio. During the public portion of the meeting, if any member of the public wishes to speak, all they need to do is identify themselves, and we'll hear them, let them make a comment or ask any question. We'll do our best to provide them with an answer. We have our regular work session this evening, which includes the 2014 budget. Then we have general items. We have a closed session where we have to discuss personnel matters that I would like to do at 7:45, so I'm going to turn the meeting over for the budget portion to Alan, to our Borough Administrator. We're going to have a roll call first. Denise?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Papola?
Here.
Councilwoman Baskey?
Here.
Councilman Jones?
Here.
Councilman Capistrota?
Present.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mastrotola.
Present. All right, Alan.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council and the Citizens Budget Committee have in front of them several pages of budget information. I'll go through it quickly just to recap our position. And then, Mayor, I was hoping the group would look at our capital list and make some additional decisions on the capital, which will be reflected the next time we meet, which would be on Saturday. Pages 1 and 2 are the log, which show various changes that we've put into the calculation. You can see we've made 61 changes thus far. On page 2, all of the decisions from the last time that we met with regard to capital have been placed into our tax and budget calculations. Pages 3, 4, and 5 are a listing of the departments that we've made adjustments where those have been affected. You'll notice that the increase in the overall budget is $425,160, or 2.9% increase. Salaries are down about 0.5%. Most of the increase comes from the other expense area. Page 6 is our revenue page. No changes there at this point in time, but certainly those revenues can be reviewed at our meeting on Saturday. Likewise, page 7, no changes here on the tax rate calculation. On Saturday, we would probably take a look at the reserve for uncollected tax. Page 8 is the tax impact. We are now at $147 for the typical home of $381,000. And that's been recalculated using the rates based on the changes that you had on Saturday, last time we met. Page 9 is the capital listing, and what I've done here is in the priority column I have put a date of initial acceptance. You went through a lot of these capital items and indicated that at this point in time they would remain, so you'll see the A-211 indicating that these were accepted on February 11th at the February 11th meeting. In addition, several of the items have been removed, so you now have a new eligible list of $4,791,146. The impact on this year's budget is the $290,818, which comes from the Capital Improvement Fund and the down payment on the bonds. You turn to the last page, page 10. What we have for you here is a repeat of the description of the items, and then the column for the unfunded, which represents the 1/5 deferred charge that goes into the budget. On some of these items, the estimated annual debt service costs, but new are the columns total denied and the comment. So the decisions that you made recently on some of these items now appears in the total denied column, and a short description of when it occurred or why it occurred. And so far, the amount that's been denied from the capital request has been $751,763. So with that said, if the council is prepared to deliberate over some of the remaining capital items, that would certainly be a help at this point in time.
Ed, just a couple of general questions for Conley.
Yeah.
On the unfunded, assuming that we kept what we're looking at now, the $4.8 million, the unfunded $897,000, the 1/5, where would that go in our budget?
Well,
Would
we
that go in
have...
next year's budget? Or would it be...
Yes, that would go into the 2015 budget.
In addition to the increase in debt service of $554,000?
Well, the debt service...
Assuming we bonded all of it?
Yes, assuming you bonded it by the end of this year, then the first principal payments would come due next year, as well as interest payments, so that would have an effect in 2015. If you went out and did your sale and raised the cash in 2015, you would push that off to 2016.
And I know we don't have the debt schedules in front of us, but do you recall offhand annually how much debt we retire?
I can give that to you.
I'm going to give everybody one of these. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that information is available in the books. Let's see if I can pull up the schedule very quickly. In 2014, we'll retire with the loan that we have from the infrastructure trust, $1,216,000. And the following year, 2015, $1,221,000, $1,260,000. So it's in that neighborhood of $1,200,000 for the next several years that will be retired.
So we'd have to look at it as additive, at least the 897 would go in the budget next year, and then whatever, or assuming whatever we actually bond for, we'd have to account for in the budget next year.
Well, the 897 would only go in if
we
you stuck to your
bonded,
policy
yes.
of raising a fifth, trying not to bond those items. But certainly if you anticipated bonding some of those, and we have done that with very large items, then, we don't put that 1/5 into the budget in anticipation that we'll have a sale. We'll raise the cash by another means.
Yes.
Are we going to go from the top? Can we jump in anywhere?
I guess we could jump in anywhere. I think we should... I think we're going to spend a lot of time on our capital budget, and I think we should all be ready to finalize it on Saturday. If nobody's... I'm not prepared to start arguing about every little thing right now.
But, sorry. But, Al, I know it's unrelated, but we're talking that there's going to be some other changes to the operating budget that we need to be aware of also. Particularly, we're talking about overtime with the storms and what that's going to do to the operating budget. So, will we have a sense of how that would impact the budget by Saturday?
Well,
or can you plug in something like for that?
Well, if we're going to add, we've spent approximately $100,000 in overtime, salt, fuel for the at least the four major storms that we've had that have been state-declared emergencies. There's been a couple of other storms as well. So we're looking at absorbing at least another $100,000 in those costs somewhere, which would translate to about a $20 increase.
26.
26.
Yeah. So we're 147 plus the 2650. So
Right.
27.
We had at schedule, the early introduction date was March 3rd, which means that your last date of meeting would be this Saturday, if you're going to introduce a budget. You can certainly change an introduced budget once it's introduced, but you have to agree on, what the reductions are, what the tax, rate would be, you know, and the revenues and the reserve fund collected tax on that date. And the latest date of introduction is March 14th, which will require that we have a special meeting to do that. As I mentioned, I won't be available on the March 8th weekend.
Alan, could you tell us what we had budgeted for snowstorms in the 2013 budget?
No, I don't have that number. I can tell you that the amount of salt that we had budgeted this year was $42,000. John had submitted an overall overtime budget, which was only about $7,500 higher than last year. That certainly didn't anticipate this kind of a snow season. Typically, the overtime for a snow season could run $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 out of the $170,000. So I don't think the initial overtime requests anticipated, you know, the severity of the storms that we experienced this year. The declared storms, the 4 major declared storms, would be an exception to our spending cap and to the levy cap. So it would not restrict your ability to raise taxes to support those storm expenses.
But the average homeowner doesn't understand that when they see the bill go up $175, that $25 was for the storm. So it's more just for us, an accounting procedure, not a...
I have a question. On the fire capital budget, the pumper, and since we have 2 representatives from the fire department here, if Alan doesn't have the answer, perhaps they can. Has this item appeared on previous budgets, and for how many years, if it has?
What was it, the last 5?
5?
Excuse me, Megan Guthrie and Derek Schultz, Assistant Chief of the River Fire Department.
Thank you.
She could not be here this evening.
Thank you. So 5 years it's appeared on the budget?
Yes.
And do you recall each year how much the prices changed?
At the beginning, the prices were higher. We were asking for more of a more sophisticated piece of equipment. Now we're asking for a very basic engine pumper.
And is that because the prices...
The price when we were first asking for about $695, I'm going to say, around that area. And that was to have one of the best runs. Now we're asking for a very basic engine, which we're asking for $400,000.
The prices come down.
Yes.
Because of the scale down of...
Yes.
But would you...
We're not looking for as much as we were before. We're just looking for a very basic engine.
But is there an anticipation that the cost for this basic engine would increase in 2015?
Yes.
And
speaking with the chief, he said probably like 5%, 6%, so you're looking for another $25,000.
thank you.
All right, well, how about my suggestion that we tackle the capital budget Saturday morning? Everybody okay with that? All right.
I'm fine.
Alan, anything else?
That's all I have tonight, unless there's anything else we want to discuss regarding the budget, the revenues, the RUT. But if you want to do the expenses first, we'll certainly nail down the storm expenses for Saturday.
Okay. All right, good. If we could move on to the remaining items we have on our work session agenda, so we can do a closed session. We have about a half an hour. The snow clearance policy at our bus stops, if everybody's been reading your emails or reviewing the newspapers, you'll see that there's a huge controversy over the jurisdiction of clearing bus stops. People have to actually, climb over mounds of snow in order to get from the bus stop to the bus. I know Vito sent an email about this. The issue that it includes jurisdiction because we have a bus stop in town that's on a state highway. We have bus stops in town that are on the county road, Kinderkamak. And is it New Jersey Transit's jurisdiction because it's their bus stop? Is it the whoever owns the road, or is it a municipal responsibility? So,
New Jersey Transit, though, when we were designing the bus stop, seemed to have a lot of input on the bus stop and the ramps and everything else. So now they want to wash their hands from it?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Even though
don't do bus
they made
stops.
us,
Yes.
go through hoops to,
Welcome to New Jersey.
We're also not talking about the bus stops that have shelters on them. We're talking about the areas where we have signage where the buses stop to drop people off as well. And many of those are going north on Kinderhook Road, so
How many are there?
I wouldn't venture a guess. I'd have to go out there physically, survey it and see that. So there are just a couple of other things I'd like to put on the record with regard to this. The mayor's talked about the jurisdiction. We do have an ordinance which requires that adjacent homeowners clear fire hydrants. So while it may not be a popular way to go, it is an option that's out there to have adjacent homeowners clear these bus locations for the residents who travel. We do that by ordinance for fire hydrants. We also have a snow clearance policy. I put a copy of that in front of you, which has been in effect since 1996, which directs the Department of Public Works as to how they clear the snow from various public properties, and certainly clearing the roadways so that emergency and essential vehicles can pass is their highest priority, down to the public sidewalks and bus shelters and the library property. So if you decide to have the Department of Public Works clear these bus stop locations, and already they do the sheltered locations, but we're talking about the ones that have signage, then that will have to be put on this policy in some sort of a priority location. In addition, you should know the way these stops will be cleared. John Lynch, the superintendent, has indicated he would clear them with a front-end loader, which means he'll have to go perpendicular to the road, to the location for the bus stop, which means he'll need police protection to get out there and stop traffic while the loader gets perpendicular to the location. He'll drag the snow back and then clear it off. In the course of doing that, while he'll certainly clear an area, he may do damage to the curbs, the sidewalks, the grass area. If there's any sprinkler systems or drainage facility that might occur, and we would have to assume responsibility for that as well. And then, most likely, these clearings would only occur at the conclusion of the storm, not during the storm, where we would have a crew going out and maintaining, these open areas during the storm. There are higher priorities, such as the fire department parking and pad facilities, the ambulance corps, where those have to be maintained on a priority basis. So I think I've put most of what should be considered out there, and Mayor, I'll leave it to the council to discuss and decide.
All right, there's our borough attorney directed me to ordinance number 400-31, which lists the schedule of bus stops. There are 27 bus stops on the list, and they're, all over the place. Midland Avenue, Kinderhook Road, Jordan Drive, Grand Avenue, Continental Avenue.
The usual suspect, the Kinderhook corridor. But the bus stop should not be cleared with a front loader and get into all this machination. You do it by hand, you're done in half an hour after the storm. The problem is access between the bus stop and the bus, unless we want people to wait in the middle of the street. And all it's going to take is one accident, and someone who has a relative who knows a good attorney, and then we know the rest is going to be history.
But are
And
you
we're talking
saying-
about safety.
I know, but are you saying that when the plow comes down Kinderhook Road and they make a 3 or 4 foot mound of snow in front of the curb by the bus stop, that should be cleared by hand? That's just too much work.
Well, listen with the front loader.
What?
Did you hear what he said about using a front loader?
And-
We have to get the police department involved, and we're still liable for damaging curbs
So
and
what's your suggestion?
close the bus stops then. We close the bus, we send everyone on Route 4 to take the bus. What was my suggestion? You gotta clear the bus stops by hand if necessary. It's the safety of our residents. I slipped and fall because I was helping my daughter to get over the 18 inches of ice at the bus stop at Reservoir, the covered bus stop at Reservoir and Kinderkamak. That's how that email came. And the other 2-3 people then started to attack me because they realized what my volunteer job was. So, yeah, welcome to River Edge.
Not to say that we shouldn't or should or should not clear the bus stop, but again, we don't know whose responsibility that is right now, right?
But we can't afford to
No, I'm just saying,
wait.
because my next question is, if and when we were to clear it, then it becomes our baby, right? So if something happens and it's not cleared correctly or whatever, that's on us. I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't, but am I right in that?
Yeah, this is a classic case, damned if we do and damned if we don't. Well, we gotta do it, in my opinion.
You're almost creating the situation by, the argument could be made is you've created the situation because you pushed the snow up and created the snow mound. So your DPW created it, so you've created liability. You didn't leave it in a natural condition of just having snow fall. You, by plowing the street and pushing it up...
You put a bank.
You've now put a bank that people have to climb over.
Right.
So I understand your thing is, well, who's potential liability, and if we remove it, the flip argument could be is, my client wouldn't have fell if you did not push the snow up and over the bank and created a bank.
No, but I'm saying, in that line of logic, we clear it, but we didn't clear it well enough, and now you're still on the hook. So you're really damned if you damned if you don't. So my
Either
client
way.
slipped, you cleared it, but you didn't put rock salt down. Or not enough rock salt that you didn't clear. So we're really behind April no matter what we do, as I see it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, either way. I mean, you do the best you can in those situations, and you hope. But I think if somebody falls and it's not clear, if somebody falls and it is clear because you didn't get down to the concrete and you left a thing, then the answer is yes. You probably would be on the hook either way. Right now, a homeowner, just to put it in perspective, a homeowner, if they don't clear, besides your ordinance, the residential owner has no duty to clear the snow. It's a natural falling, besides them getting a ticket from you. However, once they clear the snow and they don't clear properly and you slip and fall, now they've created that dangerous condition. So I think either way, is that. My initial, and I'm somewhat involved in the case that from last year's to my initial research would be that it's the town's responsibility to clear it. And listen, as Councilman said, whoever's responsibility is, if you say, well, our research says it's New Jersey Transit, you're not coming out and clearing these things.
That's the reality of it.
The reality of it, and you're still...
And to lessen liability, it would be better to just clear it, even though it might not be a perfect clearing. That's at least something done, and there's less liability.
You can't let people stand in the street.
Yeah, but the other thing is that the last snowstorm was a large event. You won't have to use a fronted loader for every event. Problem now is that obviously it can't be a number one priority. He's got other things to do. It's going to have to go lower in the list of where he goes. But you're not going to have the iced-in mounds like he has now, which has to be broken with a fronted loader, because all the towns are seeing that now. So, to your point, if you get 2 or 3 inch storm, he can go and take care of it.
The
It's not a
email
problem.
came with the storms of 2 weeks ago, when we got storms.
But it's easier to do it when it's
Monday, Wednesday, and we had
3 or
3
4
storms
inches.
in a week.
It's different when you have 14 inches and 4 feet of snow.
Well, my suggestion is that we don't have the resources to clear 27 bus stops every time it snows. Most of the bus stops don't even have shelters. It's just a sign sticking into the grass curb between the sidewalk and the street. But at the shelters along Kinderkamak Road, people should be able to have a safe place that they can stand out of the weather and go straight to the bus without having to climb over any mounds. So the bus shelter should definitely be cleaned. That should be our ongoing responsibility. Maybe we can put it on our website that that commuters should only use the sheltered bus stops in the event of a storm.
But
Ellen.
but there are no sheltered bus stops on the going north on Kinder-Camac.
Yeah.
And you have commuters being dropped off in the dark in the middle of Kinder-Camac Road with nowhere to stand to safely cross the street. That's what my biggest concern is, the going north on Kinder-Camac, where you have those 27 stops on Kinder-Camac, having had to do that. And that's where we have a resident who wrote us a letter and sent us those pictures. They were dropped off in the middle of the street with no safe place to pass.
Ellen.
Denise made an inquiry of New Jersey Transit as to whether they have a policy about dropping off pedestrians in front of these bus stops without the shelter. And what they said was that they don't have a policy, but the bus drivers are supposed to use their own discretion. If there's a corner nearby or an open driveway, they're supposed to drop them off there. And usually the bus is supposed to wait. Again, they use their own discretion to try and protect the pedestrian so that they get safely onto a sidewalk.
That's good.
So I'm just offering that as to
Yeah, I know.
what New Jersey Transit's response is.
It's a classic New Jersey Transit non-answer, because the bus driver stops as soon as you hear the beep, there you are, step off the bus, I got to continue. That's the reality. I've taken the bus a few times when there is no snow. When there is snow, as soon as they hear the bell, the next stop that they can see, they stop. You're on your own. I mean, New Jersey Transit reads too many books and not enough practice. So,
Going north,
that's the answer.
I raised this 2 or 3 times. We did a beautiful intersection. It was like a 10-year project at the corner of Howland and
Kinder-Camac.
We did a bump out for the bus stop.
Right.
We put a beautiful bench there, but, in a blizzard, you're going to be sitting on the bench. There's no shelter there.
No, I'm not suggesting you need shelter. I'm suggesting you need safe access to get off the bus and wait on the sidewalk until it's safe to cross the street. That's what I'm suggesting, and I agree with Councilman Aquafreda that there has to be a clear path at those bus stops. If the bus stops are there, commuters have to be able to access them, and they have to be safe.
The northbound bus stop at Wayne and Kinder-Camac doesn't even have a sidewalk. It doesn't even have a sidewalk.
We don't disagree on this. We agree that that's a problem, but
That's a problem.
we have a pressing problem right now, where we have commuters that have nowhere to go at 7 o'clock at night when they're getting dropped off going north.
If they're getting dropped off between the bus and a 4-foot-high mound,
Right.
then you have an issue.
And that's what we're being told by commuters is happening. And we're being told by New Jersey Transit that the bus driver uses their judgment and they're supposed to go up to the closest driveway. Is there any way that we can make a formal request to them in some way, shape, or form that they do that?
I don't know. I think we have to change those bus stops northbound, because as they are without the snow, they're not very safe.
I agree. We agree on that.
My concern would be, say we send John Lynch out there, say he clears out with front loader or whatever he needs to do, each of those 27 stops. Someone rings the bell, the bus driver overshoots the stop. They're back where they are. Now, so my question is, how much of a space would we be clearing out? Would the bus driver be able to land in that space? Are we talking about clearing out, because I want to understand this. Are we talking about clearing out, 3 feet, or are we talking about clearing out 20 feet?
No.
So, I'm just saying...
The width of the bucket.
Width of the bus door as it opens.
The width of the bucket, you would...
Well, that's
talking about what's out there now,
So
would be the width of the bucket.
So if it's
you're
a width of...
talking about a 2-inch or 3-inch area, then it would be, a 3, 4, 5-foot area, a small area.
According to the ordinance, all these bus stops are between 90 and 105 feet long.
Yeah, if you're going sign to signage, then,
Yeah.
then you're talking about a certain amount of...
But we
length.
need a discharge point.
Right.
But if we clear out a 4-foot area, and the bus driver even overshoots
it
by just a small amount, I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, I'm just wondering how effective it's going to be. I guess I'm questioning the effectiveness of doing 27. Maybe what we need to do is less than 27 and do a much wider opening, because I don't see 27 3-foot openings necessarily making a substantial difference for safeties. If safeties are concerned, and I think it should be our number one concern, then what we might need to do is pick every other stop or something where we can open up a 5 to 10-foot area, because if the bus doesn't stop exactly on that mark, we're not improving the safety issue. We're not really addressing
Well,
it.
you are, because at least they'll have a path to get onto the sidewalk.
Yeah, but in many of the...
Even if it's 5 feet behind them, at least they can walk 5 feet and get on the sidewalk, as opposed to having
No, but I'm talking
nowhere
about
to
the
go when you
northbound,
get off
because
the
I know
bus.
on the northbound there aren't sidewalks at a number of
At least
the stops.
you're getting behind the curb
But
line.
you're getting behind
You're not
the
going to be walking on the
You're not
street.
standing in the middle of Kinder
So
Commercial.
you're saying that would... All right, I get that, okay.
I think it would be really difficult unless you did some type of a study to determine the most used northbound bus stop to figure out which one's not so clear.
Okay, I get it.
Number one. Number two, I think we should all be taking the bus for 1 week so that we know exactly what the commuters go through. I mean, we all seem to be lucky enough to be able to drive to work.
I don't think anyone here, Vito, is saying we shouldn't do this.
No, but
Because you seem to
I
be
hear
suggesting
we're
that.
trying to put up walls
No, we're
where we
trying to
should just
understand what we
be
need to do.
steamrolling through this. You know what? Get all the volunteer organizations to clear up the bus stops. It's essential. It's essential to our framework. I mean, thank God we have 2 train stations. We don't have to clear the rails. I mean, they got the special locomotives that do that. So
I don't think necessarily we can obligate or presume to obligate our volunteer organizations.
Oh,
I mean, if they
okay.
wish to volunteer, that's
It's
whole...
a storm. It's an emergency. What do you mean obligate?
I think our fire
We're all
department...
volunteers here.
Well, no, I think...
It's a storm situation.
No, Vito, you're being a bit supercilious about this. It's our volunteers, our fire department has gone out and cleared out the hydrants, which they're not obligated to do by ordinance, and they've gone to do that, and that's a lot of work for them. We can't simply say, well, the way we're going to solve it is by telling our volunteers that they have to go do more. You know, I think there is a limit. I don't think that's a...
Well, then find a shortcut, because you're
solution.
politicking about this issue, and you
No,
shouldn't.
I am
Yeah,
not,
you're not.
Councilman
You are.
Aquafreda. I am
Right.
simply asking questions that I think will lead to a good decision. And I think I am free to do that. Do not ever consider that you are
What
telling me
are
I'm
you making your voice
politicking.
for? What do you think, I'm
Because
deaf?
you just accused me of politicking, and
Tom,
you should
Tom,
not
You
do that.
are.
Tom, everything goes through the chair, please. We've spent enough time on this issue.
One other point.
It hasn't been heard from.
There's one thing, and it may not be the best answer, but it's something we can look at also. We can also get a cost to do it privately. And they can come, sometimes, I know Fort Lee did that now with the crosswalks. They hire people who come in and just clear the crosswalks during certain storm events. So we can put out an RFP for local companies. They can come and give us a cost to clear it, and they usually give you, if it's from 0 to 6 inches, it's one price, if it's 6 to 12, it's another price, and whatever. And then if we want to budget for it, we can budget for it that way.
I know, but I
If John
think the
gets- if
issue
John
that
doesn't have manpower.
Councilwoman Bastida's bringing up, and I think it's an excellent issue, is we need to do something now. And that is what I was exploring. What could we do? Could we do all 27? If we're not going to do 27, how wide should it be? I think we need to give direction to our DPW if we want it done immediately. We need to, as a group, decide how much we want done and how wide we want it to be, because the need is now. It's not a month from now. And
Well, I think,
That's why-
I had asked that we schedule a meeting with some of the members of the Traffic and Safety Committee and New Jersey Transit to discuss the bus stop situation, lighting, location, this issue regarding storm maintenance, and we need to do that sooner rather than later. Denise, if you could reach out for New Jersey Transit. I know Ellen would like to go to the meeting, maybe another councilman would like to go to the meeting, and we could discuss this with them. In the meantime, I think we should agree on a policy that all of the sheltered areas should be done by our DPW. It should be triaged the way they do the rest of their job now. They do their primary roads first, the secondary roads, then they do the public buildings, right? And then
Yes.
then they do the bus shelters.
Priority 5 is the public facilities such as the library, bus shelters, and we would add these bus drop-off locations as well.
Yep.
So can I just understand, we are going to add these bus drop-offs to this ordinance, to this policy, rather?
That would be the appropriate way to memorialize
Yes.
it.
So it will be, I'm sorry, read it.
No, finish.
So it will begin, when will the clearing begin? I'm not clear that we're taking steps to correct it right now.
Mayor, if the mayor and council want this to begin tomorrow, tonight you'll make a motion, you'll accept that motion that this clearance begin. At the next meeting, we'll put this on, to add this type of thing to the list so that it's memorialized for the future as well. So it doesn't have to wait for a resolution. You could do it by motion tonight to give direction to the Department of Public Works.
I just had one suggestion, maybe in the future we could look at having landscapers, maybe engaging in a landscaping company that might handle some of this.
I thought about the adopt a bus stop.
What was that, his thing?
What?
Get all these three people to go out there with shovels?
Gets
No,
regurgitated.
it said adopt the bus stop,
How would you, who's going to adopt it?
like you suggested, the local landscape contractors.
Okay. So that's something we should kind of pursue, maybe. Yes, Alan, sorry.
There is a law that allows private maintenance of public property. We've done that in the past for certain areas for landscaping reasons. The law most likely would allow this, and you would give some sort of acknowledgement to whoever maintains it. I
think that's the best idea.
Reciprocal arrangement, if you can find somebody to do that.
All right.
Wait, I'm still not clear. What bus stops are getting cleared? Just the sheltered?
Yes.
They already get cleared already.
No,
That's
No,
what
we're adding the northbound drop-off spots.
We are adding north.
The shelters are maintained by DPW.
So we're adding the
Or do
northbound
we just
drop.
want to have Mr. Lynch address the situation today, for the storm now,
Right.
until we come up with a more formal
Right.
policy for everything else in the future? We could do that too, could we not?
All right, do I have a motion?
Wait, no, I don't even know what the motion
Well,
is.
what's the motion?
Well, no, I'm saying,
To investigate the
we
policy.
can have Mr. Lynch...
Correct what's there today.
Given current conditions, and that gives us more time to formulate a broader policy and address bad ones now. We're not anticipating any bad storms, obviously, in the next 10 days, at least from what I saw from the weather forecast. So we can at least get the current situation addressed and still come up... What I want to do is lock ourselves into a policy tonight that we may have to go back and modify based on some other
So
circumstances.
temporary policy to handle what's occurred.
So, not even temporary, just as Mr. Lynch
Correct.
cleared
Yeah,
spots for
So
now.
I would make that motion.
All 27
Northbound.
northbound,
Oh, we don't...
No.
We don't know,
We don't
no,
need
there's
to say
27,
that.
whatever...
Not all northbound.
Yeah, and they're not all, the
Right,
the bus
correct.
shelters are already excluded, so whatever,
right, whatever
Non-
remains needs to be cleared.
yes.
At their discretion.
By the way, Mayor, the bus stop I was addressing in my email was a sheltered one that was inaccessible to bus riders. Thank you.
So the motion is to, well, we haven't made the motion, but I'll make a motion that we address all the bus stops that are currently not sheltered. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Kathleen,
I already made the
Well,
motion.
Kathleen did
Yeah.
it.
First, we have to, as Vito so aptly pointed out days ago, the sheltered bus stops weren't even cleaned. So that's the number one priority, because that's where a reasonable commuter would go to.
But we don't need to make a motion for that, because that's already in our ordinance,
And
isn't
that's,
it?
Well-
Mr. Lynch has to look at why
It's
that...
not, it may be, it's not in our ordinance. There's nothing in our ordinance about cleaning those...
Well, it's in our policy, yes.
Yeah.
It's in our
I thought it
policy,
was.
yes.
The ordinance, you guys.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, we have to enforce that.
So we need to enforce that. I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, work session consent agenda. Any member of the council want to pull out for separate consideration any of those two items? The flags for the fire hydrants, the stormwater? No? Can I have a motion to approve the consent
So moved.
agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are supposed to take training for the stormwater regulations.
That can be the last thing we do tonight.
All right. Anything on unfinished business? Any new business?
Mayor?
I had something on unfinished business.
Ed had his hand up first.
Okay.
Ed?
A couple items. This evening, we had a meeting with John Lynch and Mr. Sarlo regarding the condition of the pedestrian crossing over Route 4 down by the New Total Wine. There's an agreement from 1961 or whatever that essentially puts the responsibility of maintenance of that overpass in the borough's lap. And there seemed to be some concern about the maintenance of it and the condition of it, and we think it's prudent that the borough have a structural engineer do an evaluation on that overpass, and then provide that information to the NJDOT to follow up and repair the problem areas.
Is it their responsibility to repair?
No.
No?
Well, it depends how you look at the agreement. The agreement talks about...
Overpass, the pedestrian
We're supposed to
walkway?
do precautionary repairs, and then there's some language about if there are bearing structures affected, then they're responsible. So we need an engineer to verify whether these are bearing or non-bearing components which are affected by deterioration.
All right. Well, we have a structural engineer, right?
Yes, well, we can have Mr. Merman
Yeah.
ask him to do an evaluation.
All right. Is that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion that we ask Mr. Merman to do a structural evaluation of the Route 4 overpass.
Second.
All in favor?
And there's a follow-up to that, couple ideas. We're going to obviously request a meeting with NJDOT to look at the future of this particular pedestrian overpass. You know, one thing I'm thinking is, you know, they're planning on redoing that Route 4 bridge over the Hackensack River, and it may be time for them to bring that overpass up to modern standards like the one they did in Paramus and have a covered one, because you know, John Lynch could tell you, we spend a lot of man-hours maintaining that overpass, and we have to shovel it when it snows, and we're responsible for it. So having a covered overpass when it's a little more safe for pedestrians, I think the DOT can give that to us when they tie up traffic on Route 4 for 3 years. So
They do the overpass, they also have to make it ADA accessible.
that's an elevator, like the one they did on...
Right,
Yes.
just like the one they did. So it's
All right.
not
Yes, but
big bucks.
Any other new business? We have to go into closed session.
are we going to go back into work session then afterward?
Any other new business?
I had old business.
Old
I have
business?
two other things in new business then. One, we're talking about the budget. I'm going to hand out to everybody. I don't know if anybody signs up for the League of Municipalities updates. They send out pretty much daily updates on things that are
Good luck.
various state business. This one I printed out for everybody because it seems that Senate President Sweeney is considering having a 0% levy cap introduced, basically forcing towns to consolidate. And it said, I don't know whether this just doing this is saber rattling or whatever, but like we've been talking about trying to keep, whether we keep this 0.5% cap or this 2% cap, he's talking about going to 0. So if that happens, then I don't know how any town is going to be able to manage their budgets. So to me, it's essentially forced consolidation. That's what they're doing. So just bring it to everybody's attention.
Okay.
Something we should keep on top of.
Right.
The last issue under new business I wanted to ask or talk about, you know, I think we made great strides last couple of years by putting the web-based or taping the meetings for the web, and I've always been interested in trying to get us on local access TV. And I've been talking probably at least a year and a half ago to a couple of the council people in Oradell who oversee their local access channel and what it would take for us to do it. And it's something I think we should explore with the Technology Committee. I did reach out to somebody from Verizon to ask about what our rights are under our franchise agreement. They said they would give us the channel. They would provide technical support. We just have to buy the equipment. My preliminary feelers talking to people about the equipment, they said it would be probably under $10,000 for us to do it. So either we have money left over from some of the other computer equipment we have, you know, bonded for in the past or whatever, or I'd suggest that we put $10,000 in the capital to potentially buy new cameras so we can actually have clear tape of the meeting, and we'd have the ability to either put them live on TV or to stream them better either on TV or on the internet.
They have a whole, like, a volunteer staff that edits it and...
They do.
you
They
know.
also have some interns. They did have some interns from, I believe, the high school. But talking to the local community college, too, they may have interns. I mean, it's a process, but I just
Yeah.
think it's something I think we should be proactively
Because there's a bunch
engaged
of
in.
available public access channels open.
And we should be taking advantage of it because it is part of our franchise agreements with the cable company. So that's where I think we should go on that.
All right. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Any member of the public wish to speak on
Oh, yeah, I wanted to...
any issue on our work session? Can I have a motion to close to the public?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, can I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have to address a matter of personnel in closed section. It's only going to take us until 8 o'clock or so, and then we'll be back for our regular meeting.
Watch somebody